What is up, guys? Tony Picks here. I fucked my camera thing. Where am I now? There I am. I just can't go full screen. Okay. What is up, guys? Tony Picks here with another upload. I was a bit behind on my other two videos. I didn't end up posting them. So let's get right into UFC 235. This is going to be a prelims and early prelims breakdown and predictions, kind of quick, and then I'm going to actually break down the main card on my next video, which should be up probably tomorrow. I'm going to try to do that tonight. So kicking off the fight card, we have Viana squaring off against Hannah Cifers. They're both coming off of some losses. Cifers took a pretty bad beating against Maycee Barber. She came in as a late replacement, but still showed a lot of toughness. She did stay in there, and she took a pretty bad beating. It did get stopped, but nonetheless, she didn't tap or anything. It was stopped. She was still in there, and she was still contending. Viana kind of had hype behind her coming into the UFC. She's coming off of a loss also. She's a really good submission artist. Pretty simple fight for me to break down. I think that in terms of stand-up, they're both relatively evenly matched. Cifers has a Muay Thai background, so she'll throw more kicks. But in terms of actual power in their hands, given the fact that Viana has that 4-inch reach advantage, I think she'll be able to kind of gauge the distance with her hands, land some jabs, throw the big shots. I find with relatively not low level, but medium level fighters, especially females, the fight always ends up on the ground for some reason. They grapple, there's grappling exchanges, and it ends up on the ground. And I think Viana has the significant advantage on the ground. And I think she's going to be able to submit Hannah Cifers relatively early. I think she's going to snatch her up, take her to the ground, and just lock in a submission, a pretty safe win for Viana. With that being said, I'm going to set my prediction with Viana via first round submission. Let's see what the second... Is it two females kicking off the 235? My internet's being iffy here. Wow, difficulties to the max. All right. Okay, yeah, so Gina Mazany squaring off against Maycee Chiasson, the winner of the Ultimate Fighter series. Gina Mazany, a dangerous ground fighter. Doesn't really have good stand-up, doesn't really have good wrestling, just a pretty good ground fighter. Maycee Chiasson has shown really good stand-up. She has pop in both of her hands. Still relatively new, and it's going to be our first fight inside the octagon against a UFC fighter rather than the Contender Series. I think this is a good fight. Significantly bigger, has a 4-inch reach, 5-inch height advantage. I think she'll be able to use her hand. She's got really good boxing and power to just keep Mazany off of her and land big shots. Mazany's only shot I think she has in winning this fight would be a random submission if she snatches a submission. I don't think she's going to be able to outpower Maycee, and I don't think she's going to be able to grapple and take her down easily. I think Maycee's the bigger body, strong hands, so if Gina's going to close the distance, she's going to eat some shots because she doesn't have the stand-up ability to gauge the distance by exchanging. What I mean by that is she's not going to be throwing punches to get in close or throwing a punch kick to get in close. She's just going to try to get in close because she's not a high-level stand-up fighter. Her strength's on the ground, and I think that every attempt she gets to get in close to Maycee's just going to be able to pop her with bigger shots and really win either unanimously, if not put her out early. So if she doesn't put her out early when her strengths the best, like in the first Maycee, if she doesn't put out Gina Mazany early, I think it's going to be a unanimous decision. But either way, I'm going to lock in my decision with Maycee Chiasson by either unanimous decision or knockout in the first round. Knockout or TK in the first round. Moving on to the next fight, a pretty interesting matchup with Shahbazyan and Charles Byrd. Charles Byrd's coming off of the loss to Darren Stewart, and Shahbazyan's coming off of the win to Darren Stewart. To be honest with you, I really wasn't that impressed with Edmund. He looked really scared in the stand-up exchanges. It was kind of weird. He was very hesitant and was always kind of falling back, although he did edge out the split decision win, which was could have been controversial because he was rocked at some point and almost did get finished by Darren Stewart. it was a different kind of rock. So Charles Byrd's last fight against Darren Stewart, he had Darren Stewart rocked early and then got hit by a wicked elbow that rocked him, and then he got put out. Whereas Edmen Shahbazyan just didn't show cardio at all. He just couldn't throw shots, and hitting him with was rocking. I mean, he didn't show that cardio. So Charles Byrd, I think, is the better physical athlete, has a better cardio, has the better stand-up. We didn't really get to see a lot of Edmen Shahbazyan's stand-up. He didn't show a lot. He just kind of grappled, landed decent shots, and was on top of Darren Stewart. And Darren Stewart was really used a lot of energy getting up back to his feet and was throwing big shots. Wasn't really putting his combos together, just throwing bombs. I think that Charles Byrd's gonna coming in off of a loss first. He's gonna be hungry, but I think that he's not gonna look for the knockout like Darren Stewart does. He's just gonna kind of piece up Edmen Shahbazyan. He's going to avoid the takedowns. I think that's Edmen's strength now that he's been in the UFC and people were expecting him to be a knockout artist, and he showed he has really good wrestling. I think Charles Byrd is going to get a good training camp, going to use some good wrestling and avoid the takedown by Edmen. He's going to be able to pick his shots, and I think he's actually going to finish it in the later rounds. I don't think that Edmen hasn't impressed me with his cardio, and I think that, like I said, Charles Byrd's loss wasn't that he was gassed or anything. Instead, he got rocked by an elbow and got put to sleep, whereas Edmen Shahbazyan, even though he won that fight, he got rocked and he was just gassed. Like, he just got gassed. It was a pretty boring fight. So with that being said, I'm going to give the decision to Charles Byrd via third round TKO. I think it's going to be Edmen who's gassed, and Charles Byrd's going to capitalize on that, and it's going to be a nice performance by Charles Byrd. Kicking off the prelims, we got Diego Sanchez with Mickey Gall. Right away, people are going to jump and say Mickey Gall's got this all day. Diego, although he is coming off of a win. But I kind of looked into this, and I have a hard time picking Diego Sanchez at this point, but I think that this is a decent fight for him. I don't think that Mickey Gall has significant pop in his shots to where he can rock Diego on his feet. Diego's never been submitted in his UFC career. Diego hasn't been submitted. He's fought in wicked ground opponents like Charles Oliveira, Anthony Pettis, Jim Miller. Hasn't been submitted by those guys. He's avoided being submitted. And Mickey Gall, one of his big strengths are getting to the back and getting that submission. And I think that Diego Sanchez is going to be able to avoid that. Diego Sanchez, I think, is definitely wrestling. He's fit for, Diego Sanchez can go 5 to 10 rounds, man. The guy's fit. So I think he's going to bring it to Gall, actually. And I think it's going to be an eye-opener for some people. So I'm actually going for the underdog in this fight, which I like doing, and I kind of like rooting for Diego Sanchez. I'm not saying that Mickey Gall isn't the better fighter. I think that Mickey Gall has better jiu-jitsu, and he's a more promising fighter. But I think at this stage in his career, he hasn't fought that top-level string of fighters yet. He lost to Randy Brown, but I don't think that he's shown enough tools to really put out Diego, who's a seasoned vet. He's fought the best of the best, and I think that Diego Sanchez is going to game plan on this, going to come out hard, land his shots, take him down, avoid being submitted, and just going to repeat. He's just going to keep landing takedowns, landing shots, staying in close, making it a dirty fight for Gall. And really after the first round, I think the chances of Diego Sanchez getting submitted decrease significantly when they're going to be sweaty. I don't think Mickey Gall is going to be able to really impose his game plan in this. So with that being said, I'm going to give the edge to Diego Sanchez by unanimous decision. Moving on to the next fight. Pretty interesting bout. We got Cody Stamann coming off of a wicked loss to Aljamain Sterling, squaring off against Alejandro Perez, who's coming off of a pretty nice win. It's a pretty interesting bout. You have Alejandro Perez, the striker, versus Cody Stamann, the grappler. Let's see. So Alejandro does throw decent kicks, but I don't think he has the stamina to contend with Cody Stamann. I think Cody Stamann's going to bring it to him 3 rounds and just outgrit him. I don't think Alejandro Perez has that pop or the skill to really put out Cody Stamann, and I think that Cody Stamann's going to force him to wrestle. His arms are going to be depleted from avoiding the takedowns. He's just going to be gassed, whether it's in the first or second round. And by he, I'm referring to Alejandro Perez. I think Cody Stamann's going to pressure him early, get him close, avoid his kick game, and just kind of either force him to defend the takedowns which will get him gas or forced him to get back to his feet, which Cody Stamann is really good at imposing his will when he has opponents on the ground. So he's good at the ground and pound. He's good at avoiding takedowns. We've seen that against Brian Caraway. Although I don't think he has the advantage in stand-up, I do think he has the grit, stamina, and wrestling advantage to where he can just kind of get in close to Perez, land takedowns, control him on the ground, land some good ground and pound, and really just gas Perez. With that being said, I'm going to lock in my decision for Cody Stamann via unanimous decision. Moving on to the next fight in light heavyweight. For me, one of the most interesting fights on the card, we have a promising prospect in Johnny Walker squaring off with Misa Cirkunov. And it's like, I've had a really tough time trying to decide this because my heart wants to go with Johnny Walker. I love the way he's coming into the UFC. Crazy knockout against Justin Ledet. He's got great energy. And I've followed a few of his fights since the Contender Series, and he's nasty. He's got nasty stand-up. He hurts people, and I think that Misa Cirkunov has the realist abilities, and he has the tools to beat Johnny Walker. He's tough. He's a great grappler, and he's got wicked submissions. He also has good cardio, and I think that that's what you need to beat Johnny Walker. But I've seen Misa get dropped by Glover and Volkan, and it's like got dropped by Glover Teixeira. It's just hard for me to picture Misha not getting dropped by someone as violent as Johnny Walker. I think that early on, Johnny's going to come in calm and just land big shots. As much as I know that Misha has the ability to get in close, grapple Johnny Walker, take him down, get him tired, and submit him, which could very well happen, I honestly, in my opinion, I believe that Johnny Walker is just on the rise. He has some good knockouts. I think that it's gonna be a nice knockout for Johnny Walker in this because Misa Cirkunov has shown that he can get put away. He's kind of has that chin that's been tested. He's been hit on that spot, like on that back here against Volkan, where he just kind of went out. And I think that it's weird when a fighter gets hit like that and they get put out, they're susceptible to that again. I think that Johnny Walker is going to put Misa Cirkunov out early. But there is a very good capability that Misha wins this fight in later rounds. I'm not going to be touching this fight in terms of betting or predictions or whatnot, which I will do on my next video. I'm going to probably post my bet cards that I post and my winnings if I win or whatnot. But I'm going to post my bet cards that I place. But my prediction is going to go to Johnny Walker via first round KO or TKO. I think he's going to land something wicked, and I think we got to keep our eyes on Johnny Walker. He's a dangerous fighter. If he implements a good wrestling and ground game, he'll be someone to watch for sure. Moving on to the headliner of the prelims, we got Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens squaring off against Zabit Magomedsharipov. Body shot loss to Jose Aldo and Zabit Magomedsharipov, coming off of that pretty impressive win of that nice submission win to, what's his name? I gotta pull that up. Coming off of a pretty nice submission win. It was, had a wicked submission when he's really promising. But it's interesting that I watched a lot of prediction videos that automatically jump on Zabit. It's going to pick apart Jeremy Stevens. Jeremy Stevens doesn't really have a chance of winning. I think that this is going to be an interesting matchup to see where Zabit is really at and where he stands among people that can possibly be the greats. If he walks through Jeremy Stevens, then I'm going to put him on. He's definitely going to be one to watch among the Israel Adesanyas and stuff like that. But if he has a tough time with Jeremy Stevens, it's really going to show me where he's at in terms of hype and whatnot. I think that Zabit has great stand-up, but Jeremy Stevens has the real abilities of shutting down Zabit. Every time Zabit backs up, he backs up on a straight line. He doesn't move or anything. He throws wicked kicks, but he's always backing up on a straight line, and he's staying heavy on the front leg. Jeremy Stevens has nasty leg kicks, and he could definitely chew apart Zabit's leg early. If he starts working on that leg early, Zabit's going to instantly lose a lot of his tools because he's not going to have that spring to land those kicks or even to land his sweeps that he does with the things. He's not going to be able to keep up that movement. Also, another thing that goes into is wrestling and cardio. Jeremy Stephens does have great cardio and he does have wicked wrestling, whereas Magomedsharipov, he hasn't really faced a tough wrestler, a tough wrestler that's really going to push towards him and try to wrestle. He fought Kyle Bochniak, who had some good stand-up exchanges with Zabit, but he didn't mix it in with a takedown. I think that if Jeremy Stephens comes in smart, throws good punches, and tries to take down, that's a game plan of beating him. So I think that if Jeremy Stephens has a way of winning, it's going to be to start with the leg kicks early, press forward, keep pressing forward, because Zabit always goes back and gets Zabit up against the fence. If you have Zabit up against the fence and you're in his face and you're closing that range, you're going to be able to land a big shot. Zabit's a rangy guy. He needs the space, whereas Jeremy Stephens is short. He can get in and land the bigger shots and possibly take him down. Zabit, on the other hand, for me, is a wicked fighter, and if he's going to win, it's going to be picking Jeremy Stephens apart on the stand-up, landing a sweep, and submitting him. I think that Jeremy Stephens, or even knocking him out, but I think that Zabit's game plan to winning is simple. He's going to come in, land the shots early, land his kicks, keep Jeremy Stephens guessing. So he's going to want to change stances like he does, use his range effectively. He doesn't want Jeremy Stephens coming in, use his range, check the leg kicks if Jeremy Stephens throws leg kicks, and to try not to get into like brawling exchanges with Stephens, just to stay technical. He got into some brawling exchanges we've seen against Kyle Bochniak, and I think that if that happens against Stephens, Stephens has the power of putting out Magomedsharipov. So it's really interesting to see if Stephens comes in smart, which he hasn't really done. He's kind of just a brawler. So with that being said, I think that Stephens definitely has the abilities to beat Zabit Magomedsharipov. He's coming out of Alliance MMA, so he trains with some of the greats, Dominic Cruz. So they could definitely game plan and kind of simulate Zabit's style in a way. But I don't think he's going to come in smart. I think he's going to come in reckless, even though he's coming off of a loss. I think that Zabit is going to be able to kind of use his striking, which is wicked, use those kicks in that range to keep Stephens off of him, and he's going to be smart enough to implement sweeps and engage in smart grappling, not engage in stupid grappling, unnecessary grappling that doesn't need to do early to drain himself, because I think in terms of cardio, Jeremy Stephens has Zabit all day. So it's interesting. Another fight where Jeremy Stephens has the ability of beating Zabit Magomedsharipov. And my heart kind of goes with Stephens, but I think that Zabit's on another level for stand-up. He's going to be able to avoid the big shots from Jeremy Stephens and win a unanimous decision. I don't think he's going to put out Stephens, although it would be interesting. With that being said, I'm going to lock my decision with Zabit Magomedsharipov by unanimous decision, but there is a real possibility that Stephens could stalk some people, so this is another fight that I won't really be betting on. So with that being said, that's the end of this video, guys. Like, subscribe, let me know in the comments what your predictions are. I'm going to be posting the main fight card probably at some point tomorrow with better breakdowns and more in detail breakdowns. So thanks, and have a good one, boys.